The No Fake Channel. Checking in. Jonathan here, and today I'm going to be taking you through my diet and fitness weekly routine now that I'm over that 40-year-old hill and I've got 2 kids to deal with. Now, there's no such thing as a perfect routine in one's life, but the best routine is the one that you can actually stick to. And hopefully from going through my routine, you might be able to pick out a few tips and tricks that you can incorporate into yours. Every morning, whether it's a weekday or a weekend, I wake up at the crack of 3:15 a.m. And no, it's not a joke. And no, I'm not trying to be David Goggins and carry the boats.
Who's gonna carry the boats?
I'm not trying to be Jocko.
Good.
I have just found that the most productive part of my day is before the kids are even up. Once they're up and the further into the day that I go, the more likely that it's just gonna go to shit. And I found out the hard way through firsthand experience that trying to get stuff done after the kids have gone to bed has put me at a massive disadvantage because I am extremely unproductive and frankly, downright useless. I don't have a weekly training routine. I kind of lied to you. What I do have is a 4-day split that I follow and then rinse and repeat. So whether that split lands me on a rest day on the weekend or a training day on the weekend, it doesn't matter. I follow that split through and through and I stay as consistent as possible. The first thing I do in the morning, besides question my life choices, is to down 12 to 16 ounces of water. I don't give it a second thought. As soon as I wake up, I tend to be dehydrated, so I just put that back and get on with my morning. I will say that I usually consume a pre-workout in the morning because I'm just so exhausted and it helps kind of just wake me up. Think of it as a cup of coffee for many of you. I currently am reviewing Alpha Lion pre-workout of the month for October. Their Mummy Gummy. This thing tastes like a white gummy bear with that nice pineapple kick in here. Fantastic. Now, I've got both of their options. Their Superhuman Pump, which is stim-free, and their Superhuman Extreme. And I really like getting different types of pre-workouts in the same flavor. Why? Because if I want to have a high stim day, I go with the Extreme. If I want to have a non-stim day, which does happen from time to time, I go with the Pump. Most of the time, I will do 50-50 of each, allowing me the best of both worlds. But first, because I'm as old as dirt, I need to go through a very lengthy warm-up routine, and it doesn't change whether it's winter or summer. It doesn't change depending on the workout or program that I'm running. It's always the same and consistent. I do 4 minutes on the Echo bike to just give me a little bit of warmth in the joints. I then do some static stretching followed by a little bit of mobility work, and then 4 sets of actual warm-up sets for the muscle group that I'm going to be working that day.
20 minutes later.
When I rush that process, it leads to very bad workouts. My current training split is push, pull, legs, and repeat. And this is the one that I found to be the most beneficial for me. It allows me to hit muscle groups with a higher level of frequency, but I'm still able to come back fresh so that when I come off my rest day, I'm still not feeling achy and sore. My workouts are fairly conventional with big compound movements up front, followed by isolation and functional training, and capped off with moderate cardio. Now, my rep scheme tends to lie between 4 and 10 reps at most, and I find that sweet spot really to be where my wheelhouse is in terms of putting a lot of work in without letting my ego take over and hitting Snap City. I will vary it from workout to workout so that I'm never doing like 3 heavy days in a row, and I will vary the exercises that I do throughout my training program in order to make sure that I'm just not getting stale on the same exercises and frankly not getting bored in my home gym. I need to thank all of you for using my affiliate links, which are in the description of today's video. When you use those links, it not only supports my pre-workout addiction, it also goes to paying for future videos. When you use those links, let me know so that I can send you a small token of my appreciation. Training fasted is a fantastic way to break up stubborn fat. And the good news is when you do train fasted, you don't lose much, if really any, strength while you're training. But for me, I'm trying to maintain my weight, so during my workouts, I will actually drink an intra-workout that gives everything I am going to be sweating out in terms of potassium, magnesium, and sodium, but it also will throw in branched chain amino acids and essential amino acids, which are great for being the building blocks of protein. Now, on top of that, I will throw in additional carbohydrates, either in the form of half a banana or highly branched cyclic dextrin. This allows to get something into my system so that I don't feel empty when I'm training. It gives me a little bit more energy, a little bit more pep in my step, but it doesn't bog down my guts and make me feel bloated. If you're looking to build muscle or put on size, it's probably best not to train fasted. But keep in mind, you really don't want to have a huge meal sitting in your gut because it's going to take your body a lot of energy to actually digest that, and it's going to make you feel very lethargic when you train. Post-workout, I will throw down a protein shake followed by 120 grams of carbohydrates, usually in the form of steel-cut oats and about a half a cup of blueberries. I try to get the biggest carb meal of the day following that workout just to kind of get it all into my system. Now, usually when I am targeting carbs in my diet, I want medium or low on the glycemic index. Glycemic index is an indicator of how much it's going to affect your insulin, and I want to have the smallest impact to my insulin as possible. For those of you who are not familiar, insulin is usually the number one hormone that signals your body to actually store excess calories as fat. I know the popular method right now is Sam Sloop's style of treating every calorie the same, but unfortunately that usually won't work out very well for many folks unless you're on seriously large amounts of doctor-prescribed gear. I personally would recommend erring on the side of targeting high-quality foods and steer clear of those donuts. 90 minutes after my post-workout meal comes breakfast, and this is almost universal day to day, and that is 3 whole eggs, a half a cup of egg whites, a half a cup of parboiled rice, along with some mushrooms and split green beans. Lunch is between 11:30 and 12, and the protein source does vary slightly. It's either eggs, chicken, beef, or ground turkey, but the carbohydrates, they always stay the same, and that is 2 cups of parboiled rice. I prefer parboiled rice because it is lower on the glycemic index, which means it has less of an effect on spiking your insulin. If that wasn't reason enough, parboiled rice also has less toxins than white rice because of the process it goes through to become parboiled. Now, the best way to stick to a very healthy diet is to, frankly, just eat the same stuff time and time again. But that will get very boring very quickly. So to combat that, I use a whole host of condiments in order to flavor a lot of the meals that I am eating. The only thing you need to be wary of is the fact that some of them will have added sugar put in for flavoring, and you need to be mindful of that, like salsa or even ketchup, making sure that you're not overdoing it because it is quite easy to simply add in a whole lot extra carbohydrates than you realize. Afternoon snack time. I've got my protein shake. This is Superhuman protein from Alpha Lion. We're going with Cookie Collision, which is a good flavor. I also have some macadamia nuts, and this is probably the only thing of processed food that I will eat during the day. And this is a Belvita breakfast biscuit. Well, I don't know. It's fantastic. They say it's low glycemic index. I don't necessarily know if I trust it. If I am trying to lose weight, I'll skip this thing. But since I'm trying to maintain right now at the moment, we're going to enjoy this one. Now, dinner, exactly like lunch, or at least very close to it. Carbs, protein, and vegetables. And I try to eat dinner a lot earlier than most people, between 5:30 and 6 p.m. Reason being, I just don't want to have all those carbs and that food in my gut while I'm trying to sleep. I feel like a lot of those calories are eventually going to just be stored as excess body fat, which is not something I am looking for. Now, throughout my diet, I try to, I'm not always perfect, but I try to avoid processed foods and sugars. And while I'm not meticulous about it, and I will have desserts from time to time, when I made that switch, it showed the biggest results both in my waist as well as how I felt. And if you have kids like me, your kids are going to have snacks and desserts just lying around everywhere. And it's very easy, unfortunately, to go through and just have a little bit of something from time to time, but it all adds up. And I found myself, I was going to that well a little too often. One thing I try to do after both lunch and dinner is to keep moving. Do some form of very light cardio to help that food digest. Very often we finish these big meals of ours And the next thing you know, we're in front of our desk doing work, or we're behind the wheel of a car sitting around doing nothing, or in fact, we're just plopped on the couch being a potato. And I don't make it anything excessive. It's usually about 4 or 5 minutes of just movement. It can be as simple as 4 minutes on the bike erg or on my Echo bike, or in fact, sometimes I just go for a walk around the block. If you haven't realized by now, I don't track my macros or count my calories. And the reason behind that is because currently I'm just trying to maintain my weight. I like where my weight is. I like how I look. I like how I feel. And when you're looking to maintain, it's a lot easier, especially if you're consistent with your diet, to just simply eat the same stuff time over time and not have to go through the hassle of tracking all of your food. Now, when I am looking to lose weight, or if I'm looking to gain weight, I will meticulously track my macros with an app and a scale and all that junk. It's a nuisance, but you definitely need to know where you're coming in accordance to how your weight and body is performing so that you can make weekly adjustments. Now, my rest days are the only days that my schedule, my sleep, and my food intake will actually change. Now, the first thing I do is I make sure to actually sleep in until 5 a.m. so that I can get a full 8 hours of sleep and catch up on a lot of the sleep debt that I've accrued over the previous 3 days. And when I wake up, I will do very moderate cardio followed by a nice stretching routine to just limber up, but by no means would you consider this an actual workout. Now, on all my training days, I eat as soon as I wake up. But on my rest days, I actually fast until 10:30 a.m., giving me about a 16-hour window of fasting. And I found this is a great way to just kind of give your stomach a break from digesting all of the stuff you're throwing at it. Also, it does help reset your insulin sensitivity because you're going such a long period of time without any carbs in your system. And frankly, it's not that inconvenient. By the time I'm starting to kind of get hungry or hangry, it's time to eat. And from 10:30 a.m. to 6 p.m., I will consume 3 meals as well as 1 snack, which is plenty of food for me. But because I got that late start in the morning, I found that the actual calories for the day come in about 700 under what they are for my workout days. If you want to see my weekly schedule for creating YouTube videos, then let me know down in the comments below. I will say that if you made it this far, we're officially best friends, like Taylor Swift and the Kansas City Chiefs. As usual, don't save anything for the trip back.
Job's done.